On this week's Music Nerd, how amateur musicians are going pro with the help of new tech.
Music Nerd this week.
But first, last week I responded to your response to my response to much of the response to Emily White's All Songs Considered file sharing blog post. If you want to watch that, you can click here. But I just want to dedicate a few seconds right now to keep that conversation going. I saw a Tumblr post this week that quoted Mike Doughty, the former Soul Coughing lead singer who is now a solo artist, and he argued that as labels decline in the face of file sharing, touring will become less and less feasible for up-and-coming bands. Then I saw a commenter who goes by username Scarecrow545 who also brought up touring. He said, being in a band, we will always operate with an adapt or die mindset. The issue of musical piracy is only an obstacle. Touring and merch will take priority, both things that can't be recreated or shared online. I think I know what I think about all of this, but I'm curious as to what you think. So there's a link to the Tumblr post below. Check that out and continue commenting because I will be addressing this in earnest soon. Non sequitur. The iPhone that is likely in your pocket right now is more powerful than the entire computer guidance system of the Apollo 11 mission to the moon. So strap some rockets to your feet and a fishbowl over your head, plug it into your phone, and by the power of Moore's Law, you can accomplish today what took NASA billions of dollars in the 1960s for mere thousands of dollars, or something like that. The power of Moore's Law, that is to say, the power of the fact that the price performance of computing devices doubles every 18 months, doesn't just have profound implications for DIY astronauts. It has profound implications for DIY musicians as well. In 2010, Gorillaz released an album called The Fall, and I mean it's kind of quirky if you ask me, but still an interesting album, all the more interesting because they recorded it entirely with an iPad. If you want to check it out for yourself, I've added it to the official Music Nerd Spotify playlist. There's a link to that below. The fact that they recorded the entire album on a device that weighs less than 2 pounds meant that rather than lugging instruments and amps into a recording studio and staying in the same place throughout the entire recording process, they were free to record the album while they were on tour. Hundreds of hours that in years past would have just been spent staring out the tour bus window were instead spent perfecting, practicing, honing their craft. Music production is becoming nimbler and cheaper. And I mean, while Gorillaz are obviously a pretty big deal, the line between professional and amateur musicians, at least in terms of the tools at their disposal to record and produce and distribute music, is becoming blurrier and blurrier with each passing day. If you are a musician looking to take advantage of this line blurring, here are a few apps that could help. First, you have GarageBand. I have been dinking around with GarageBand for my iPad over the last few weeks, and while I know GarageBand, the brand, is known for being very rudimentary, I've actually been very favorably impressed with what it can do, which is essentially everything GarageBand for desktop can do, and then some. You can have multiple tracks of audio, you can add all sorts of crazy effects, you can record from an external input, or from a wide array of pre-programmed digital instruments. And this is where I think the iPad version is better than the desktop version. Because of the iPad's multi-touch display, you can actually play the instruments without the need for a MIDI controller. You just have to touch the screen. What that means on a practical level is that amateur musicians can download the app and immediately begin making music that doesn't suck. Necessarily. It can still suck if you're really bad at it, but no setup or tuning required. Next up we have VJ. I've said it before on Music Nerd, and I'm sure I will say it again on Music Nerd. The infrastructure is now in place for music to go viral, for people to first hear a popular song from a friend rather than from the radio, and then pass it along to the rest of their friends, who pass it along to the rest of their friends, blah, blah, blah. You know what going viral is. For one person to want to pass on a song to another person, however, it helps if the song has a slick video. And while VJ might not ultimately be the technology that revolutionizes the DIY video side of things, it's at least a very cool proof of concept. You can add cool effects like a swirl, and it looks all crazy like this shot looks right now, because I'm going to have the editor do crazy stuff to it. So unless you really know what you're doing, you're not going to come out with something that looks amazing with it, but it will be better than what you could do without VJ and might be enough to get one of your friends to pass on your song. And number 3 for today, Dave Mustaine's Guitar Prodigy. A key component before you record a song with GarageBand or shoot a video for your song is actually knowing how to make music. Any 2-year-old with an iPad can be a beat maker, but you got to know how to shred. That's what shredding sounds like. Dave Mustaine from Megadeth has teamed up with app makers Guitar Prodigy to make an app that's similar to Guitar Hero, except rather than teaching you to play a plastic instrument, it teaches you to play the real thing. Moore's Law is also in full effect in the world of music teaching, and I'm sure music apps will probably churn out many guitar shredders who are just as good, if not better, than Dave Mustaine himself. I don't know what that says about the future of music teachers. Sorry, guys. But someday the computers will have all of our jobs. And then they'll kill us. Well, that's it for this week's Music Nerd. Thanks for watching. Let me know what piece of tech you are using to help you make DIY music. And for all past music nerds, click right here. To see Happy Fun Music Time with Elaine, click right here. And to see the Rap Report with Esteban, click right here. And subscribe to Fuse.